Our On the Move host, Donna Yeager's former co-worker, Tracy Avent, has done a lot with his high-tech telescopes, recently covering the 2017 solar eclipse. Prior to this show, Donna and Tracy visited the observatory at Foothill College. Tracy discusses the process that he went through to personally experience the accessibility of the solar eclipse. And now, here are Tracy and Donna.
Hi, I'm Donna Yeager with On the Move, and I'd like to welcome our very special guest, Tracy Avent. Welcome, Tracy.
Hi, Donna.
Hi. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Oh, good, good, good. Well, I'm very, very thankful that you were able to join us. And you know, you and I have, well, we worked at the Hewlett-Packard Company for many, 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 many years.
A while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that you had a talent that I didn't know about until we went to the picnic up in Little Basin in the Santa Cruz Mountains. It was awesome. Uh-oh. Anyway, but we had a wonderful time, you know, seeing your marvelous telescope, and you actually gave a lot of people the first time to actually look through a telescope in the daytime, which is amazing to me. Because the fact that it was so clear, and, you know, how many miles is that? I don't even know. To the moon.
From the Earth to the moon, we're looking at about 250,000 miles.
Wow, that's
a little bit of, right around 250,000.
Wow, my gosh.
And remember that the astronauts had to go there and come back.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's true.
The getting back's part is sometimes harder, yeah, as Apollo 13 told you.
Well, I mean, literally, you had the little viewfinder gadget low down so that someone in a wheelchair would be able to access it, and it was marvelous. I just, you know, from that point on, I was hooked on astronomy. It was definitely wonderful.
I can understand that. I've been kind of hooked on it myself.
Yeah, and how would you describe the photo that we just saw a moment ago with all the different planets? And
those are some pictures from NASA websites, and they depict a variety of what are called deep sky objects, things that would be really difficult to capture adequately well in a terrestrial telescope. So that one's a space-based telescope, and it just does some really magnificent stuff.
Yeah, cool.
And they're all reprocessed after the fact, it loaded into computers and enhanced in various ways, but some of those just stupendous images. And you can find those on the net in full size, and they could cover a wall.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's the size of the original images.
Right. Well, actually, you recently were able to go up north. It was like the Oregon border and kind of east of the border, right?
We went, my wife Claire and I and our RV went to Weiser, Idaho. It's a small town about 2 miles from the Oregon border on the Snake River. Past Boise. You have to hiss the S in Boise, and you have to Z the S in Weiser.
Okay.
But we had a great time. The small town is very organized and apparently has a fair amount of experience doing public events of various types.
Yeah.
And they just did a great job. Cool. I was very impressed.
That's awesome. And then the next picture that we have is the actual telescope itself that you have. What would you call that?
It's one of about a dozen telescopes that I own, but that particular one is an 8-inch Newtonian reflector. So the mirror is 8 inches in diameter, and the tube is roughly that size. Okay. And Newtonian reflector has to do with the kind of telescope and how it focuses, and it relates to how expensive it is and how easy it is to use. And the Newtonian reflectors are among the most accessible for not only adult adults with physical handicaps, but also for access to kids.
Oh,
you know, people of different sizes and shapes, and it's pretty flexible for that purpose.
Cool. Cool.
So those are the ones that star parties, public access events tend to use the most because they're really flexible.
Cool. And then the next photo was where you actually had a cool little clipboard kind of thing, and you wrote "Moon in Daytime."
Yeah, so I have this habit of doing what's known as sidewalk astronomy.
Yeah.
That is, you put a telescope in a rather improbable place where people go, and you say, look, come and see this. You've got to see this. This is a mind-blowing, life-changing experience.
It was.
And I've done a lot of that at music festivals, particularly the Strawberry Music Festival that goes on twice a year in the Sierra foothills. And that's what that shot is from. So that's a group of RVs there. One of those right behind me is my brother-in-law's. Mine is a little bit out of the frame. But the whiteboard is the way that I announce to folks going by what they can expect to see and when.
Right.
And sometimes there are things to see in the daylight, such as the sun, if you have a proper filter. Do not point the telescope at the sun otherwise under any circumstance.
Right. But actually, in the picture as well, you were holding a flute, and you're incredibly musically talented. You are really talented. I've seen you play guitar, and I've heard your beautiful flute playing as well. I mean, you're multi-talented. It's amazing.
I've noticed a lot of astronomers are. They cross over into other fields, but yes, I have certain tendencies. I even got an accordion, but nobody that I play with is supposed to know about that yet.
Oh, how cute. I did not know about it.
But yeah, you can't do much better than to be able to do astronomy and music at the same time. And at the Strawberry Music Festival, I've had the chance to do that because people come by and have instruments that they play, and it's also dark sometimes, and people are coming by and looking at the telescope, and so I'm doing astronomy and music at the same time, and how cool is that?
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah.
And this is another reason why I like you so much. You are incredible. I mean, who else in the world has like a motorhome with a lift in it so a disabled person can get in there? Wow.
There's this story about the RV with the lift, which since I've traded up and the new one doesn't have a lift. But my friend Jimmy Pena, who's in an electric wheelchair, he's a pretty hefty guy, so him and the chair are probably 300 pounds or so.
Oh, wow.
But we decided to go to a public, I think it was a social music event, something like that. And it was on a rainy night. Okay. And the old RV would catch rainwater on the roof. The roof kind of drooped a little bit, so there was this little lake on the roof behind where the overhead bedroom was. And so water would collect there, right? So we'd gone to this place, and there was the huge rain while we were there that I didn't know about. And then I went to get him on the lift, and the whole RV leaned just a little bit when he was on the lift. Fortunately, I'd given him an umbrella to hold ahead of time, so he didn't get drenched. But he freaked because there's this huge deluge of water that just dumped right over him, and I thought, yeah, so it was a learning experience.
Learning curve.
But yeah, that was for my mother-in-law originally. She was a polio survivor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, and then we're going to look at another photo with the actual where you made the reservation to park your RV, and so that you could look at the solar eclipse, which is so cool.
So the city of Weiser had arranged for an RV parking area to be set up on the grass field at the elementary school. Wow. And they'd gone to a lot of trouble to set this up. They'd arranged the spaces, and they'd painted them off, and they had boundaries and all that stuff, so that they could keep track of who was assigned where and all this. It was very well done, and I just have nothing but praise for the folks of Weiser, Idaho. So to Weiser, I'm just saying, cool, great job, you guys.
Good job.
Yeah. But we had just a great time. There were probably 40 RVs eventually parked in the grass field there, and they accumulated over a period of about 3 days.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But the whole event there just took over the whole downtown of Weiser, Idaho, and it was probably attended by upwards of 4,000 people.
Wow.
They had a lecture from a guy from the National Solar Observatory from Washington, D.C. He came and did a lecture for a packed house at the school auditorium.
Well, that's
it was
really
just,
great.
it was stupendous.
Yeah.
And they had more things going on that I ever had a chance to go to because I was busy playing the flute or fiddling with the telescope. And
Get it, fiddling?
that's actually,
See,
now
only
that you
a
mention
musically
it,
inclined person.
the other thing that town does is a fiddling championship. That's why they know how to do all this stuff, and they're used to doing it. So
So when they're not
just
doing that,
spit and
they're doing
polish.
eclipses.
Yeah. You know, the
cool.
next one's going to be in Texas, though. It's going to miss them.
Okay. Wow.
So they're only going to see partial. But it was totality there among the longest, about 2 minutes and change.
Oh, cool. So let's talk a little more about the telescope itself.
Yeah.
It's, wow. I mean, what's the word? The aperture or the circumference of the...
Yeah, so mirror has aperture, and the larger in diameter the mirror, the more sensitive the telescope is to dim light sources. Wow. So the big fat tubes, they're large in diameter, can see dim objects like galaxies and what's called diffuse nebula.
Cool.
And the narrower ones are cheaper and easier to lug around, but generally they work better for bright objects like the moon, planets, and the sun if you have the right kind of filtering apparatus on them. In fact, the ones that are designed to use for the sun are only about this big around, and they cost like $4,000 to $6,000, but they only see the sun. Mine, I have a solar filter for it, so I can look at the sun with it, and it can look at other things at night.
Wow.
So that's better, in my opinion, and it's a whole lot cheaper.
Oh my God.
But it doesn't see as cool things.
Yeah.
If you get a chance to look through one of those dedicated solar telescopes, don't miss it.
Wow.
Those will blow you away.
Yeah.
Seriously. San Jose Astronomy Association in San Jose does that, I think, on a couple of Sundays a month and Sunday afternoon. Yeah. So they set that up near the tennis courts, and people can go and look.
But the picture that you gave me regarding the open field where the telescope was, I'm sure it's better for you and for safety-wise also, so that no one's bumping into it and trying to squish by it. And
yeah, I guess so. From doing public access astronomy for a long time, I kind of have beater telescopes and beater optical equipment, so I have stuff that I'm not worried about what happens to it. And there's a lot to be said for having spares of things, because I'll just get knocked around, they get dinged up. But you know, it's just like a book that you love. It gets tattered and dog-eared and gets coffee dumped on it because it gets loved. So I have telescopes that are pretty well loved.
Oh, that's good.
But I would guess that the 8-inch Newtonian, 10,000 people have looked through that telescope.
Wow. Wow. So what was that about the, 150th person?
You would have been early in that list based on the Little Basin event with HP.
I feel special.
You are special.
Thank you so much.
You are as you feel.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Anyway, okay.
Sorry.
I digress. Okay, so and then the other picture that we have of the telescope is you have the board where you tell people My next show.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
I've noticed that humans are very accepting if you tell them ahead of time what's going to happen. So, I'm going to kill you in 15 minutes. And they go, oh, yeah. But they get upset if it's a surprise.
Oh, okay.
But I have this whiteboard that was left over from some teaching stuff that I used to do. And it occurred to me that I could put on it what was happening next. Because at the music festivals, you got people walking by your camp on the way to wherever. And often they say, well, I need to go and do this thing that I was already planning to, but I'll come back later. And then they ask, what are we going to see when? And so I would kind of give them, you know, the short list of things that I expect to be able to do, weather permitting, and if I'm not already exhausted, and if I haven't dropped, you know, the lens on the floor or something.
Exactly.
But yeah, it usually works out.
Cool.
But lots of people have seen some really cool stuff, and I've gotten really good reviews about the rings of Saturn and the moons of Jupiter and so on.
Well, and you're so knowledgeable, too. It's just fascinating to hear you talk about something that you truly love. And, well, Claire's a good example, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
Claire is my ever-loving domestic partner.
That's right.
Yes. She and Donna know each other pretty well, too. So.
Oh, yeah, many years. She's a sweetie.
Yes, she is.
She certainly is.
But yeah, I absolutely agree about the passion part, and I have some of my own heroes, the Carl Sagans, the Seth Shostaks, and so forth, that express that passion in an effective way, and I could do a whole lot worse than just pretend I'm them.
Yeah.
And I think on some kind of computer-based quiz about astronomy, it accused me of being Carl Sagan. So I was actually pretty smug.
Wow. So I'll start calling you Carl.
Hey, Cal.
Tracy Carl Avent.
Yes.
Anyway, now we're gonna kind of I'm not gonna use that word. I was gonna say digress, but I won't say that. But
I'm not going to say a word.
But I'm very thankful that we worked in the same location, because actually I met you at a Rooster T. Feathers comedy place. That was the first place that we met.
Yeah, the group from HP used to go over to the comedy club, and that was one of the places where we ran into each other.
Yeah.
I first became aware of you because of the deli, that is the little cafeteria.
Not the old deli, the new deli.
Yes, the new deli, thank you.
Anyway.
But there was this button on the wall of the deli counter.
Was there?
And you could push it, and then people would come out of the back.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't know why it was there. And I asked, and they said, it's for Donna. And I said, who's that? And the rest is history.
Wow, I see.
Because they put the button down where you could reach it.
That's what it was.
You know.
I worked after hours, and they would be like inhaling some food.
Yeah, they would be on their breaks and stuff in the back. Yeah, and it got old.
Trying to get their attention.
And you didn't have one of those whiteboards that I do that says the moon is going to be up and Jupiter's going to be, you know. So you had a button instead. I admire that. I would like to have a button.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So
I'll get right on that.
Okay, thanks.
But anyway, so you have a wonderful photograph of you when you were working in the building. There you are.
Oh, yeah.
Working, concentrating.
I taught network infrastructure management and maintenance, monitoring and so forth for HP for 30 years.
Wow.
Some of the tools that we built and marketed were responsible for the development of the internet. Between Cisco routers and the HP OpenView software, there would not be an internet today without those, and I am not exaggerating.
I believe you.
Yeah,
I know.
It's really cool. I don't know if you can see all of those, but some of them actually have some stills of some of the software diagram mappers that I
we looked over 100 pictures.
Yeah, I gave you a lot of pictures to choose from, and it might have been a bit much.
I like this one because you're working from home there, right?
That one actually was at an HP site.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just in a corner, and I was, I think, checking to see whether my laptop was working right and connecting to the rest of the network, because I was using that to display slides.
I just thought Winnie the Pooh was such a nice touch.
Oh, well, the deal with those is each of the computers in the classroom had a name. Oh. And so we had, each room had a central theme, and all the names of the computers were according to that. And so some of them were Warner Brothers characters, some were Disney characters, and so on.
So you had Winnie the Pooh and Tigger, too?
And Tigger was in there, and Yosemite Sam, and so on. Oh, yeah. And there was one that had planet names and stars and all kinds of stuff.
I'm impressed.
And I remember one of the instructors, I think, was naming the computers after Greek legend characters.
Wow.
And when it got to Aeschylus, which is Aeschylus,
good luck
the
with that one.
students had to type that, you know, when they were sending messages to each other.
Class over.
Yeah. So eventually they just called them A1, B1, A2, B2. And
much easier.
But it was much less creative. So.
Okay. Well,
I grieved for the loss of that.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
We'll be okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, but also we had a wonderful time visiting the observatory at Foothill College.
Yes.
I feel so collegiate. Yes. Anyway, so we have a picture of the actual building where. I forget what you told me, but the dome on the top there.
Yep.
That's where the telescope comes out.
Yep.
On a sunny day.
Yeah. Well, at least that's where it points to the sky.
Not a rainy day, anyway.
It's down low. It's inside the brick part, but they just open the doors sideways on the dome so that you can see out, and then they close it so that the telescope doesn't get schmutz all over it.
Schmutz.
Schmutz.
Wow, that's a good name.
My
Schmutz.
telescopes do tend to get schmutz on them, so I understand why they have the doors.
Wow. I did not.
But yeah, it's just a question of size and money.
Wow.
But pretty much all your observatories have the same kind of dome shape and the similar doors and all that. The guts inside are different.
Totally different, yeah.
Yeah, but it's just a question of how big you want to build it.
There you go.
But the bigger it is, the more sensitive it is to
how much
dim
money
objects. Exactly. And if you spend enough money, yes, if you spend enough money, the telescope gets named after you.
Oh, wow.
So the Hale telescope, the Hooker telescope, and so forth.
Okay, and let's talk about the parking.
Yes.
The wheelchair parking is awesome. It's right there, right in front, and just to the right of that photo is billions of parking spaces for other people. It's really a wonderful place.
Foothill is pretty accessible in the main parking lot, but once that gets full, the rest of the campus is pretty hilly.
Oh yeah,
and you don't want to have to take a chair to the rest of that.
No, well, I mean there are ways though. There are ways. The actual entrance of how you get, there's a really cute little cafe that looks pretty new because I haven't seen it before. But isn't that pretty with the sun streaming in and little chairs and tables.
And Donna modeling it way in the back there. That's Donna.
Hello.
Yeah.
Don't you see me waving?
I do. I see you waving. Of course I do. I know how to tell that. I'm trained.
It's this.
Yeah.
Anyway.
She waves differently than most people. Maybe you know this, maybe you don't. Never mind. It's a long story.
So, you're so funny. Anyway.
I get paid for that. I don't? Oh.
We're all volunteers.
Yeah, I guess I don't. Sorry.
Anyway.
I'm sorry, I've offended you now. I'm sorry.
We should go on the road, I think.
Yes. We were told to get off the road a number of times, weren't we?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we've got another cool picture that's a close-up of the moon. Look at those craters. Wow. That is an awesome close-up.
So the deal with the moon, this is my opinion. You know, I have opinions, right? The moon is treated kind of like the redheaded stepchild of the astronomy world because the folks with fancy equipment, they don't want to bother looking at the moon. That's right. Well, it's too easy or something, I don't know.
I need to actually say the phone number.
Yes.
If anyone wants to go to the observatory.
Moon?
No.
Oh, sorry.
Observatory.
Oh, yeah, the observatory. That's closer. That's good.
Thank you. Yeah. But they want to call area code 650-949-7777. I repeat, 650-949-7777. 7777.
So do I get to look like this when the numbers go by the bottom of the screen?
I think they go across my face.
Okay.
That's another story. Anyway, and then I want to emphasize our wonderful friend Tim Aston. He and his friend Dory have been on the show before, but this is his photo of the eclipse that he took, and I don't know the exact location, but isn't that beautiful? Oh, very pretty. I like that with the water. That's really cool. Anyway, so we thank Tim for letting us show that beautiful photo.
We thank Tim, or we thanked him?
We thank Tim.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And we thank him.
I have trouble with English.
We thank him also.
Okay. We thanked him, and we thanked Tim.
Speaking of thanking him, I want to thank you.
Oh, well, you're welcome.
Thank you very much for joining us, really.
It's great to hang out with you on camera and even not.
We've had a lot of fun. But also, I really want to thank you because you have been a wonderful friend, and I want to say this, I don't want to cry, but you were a wonderful friend to Joe. And you were there for him so many times. And when we lived up in Boulder Creek, you were the only one that came to our what do you call it, the little garage?
House. I believe that they call it a house, yes. In the mountains, the term house is a vague one, but yeah.
Jerry is, anyway. Yeah. So
in the cruise sign.
But thank you again very much. We appreciate it. And
thank
you so very much for joining us. Until next time, I'm Donna Yeager with On the Move. Have a wonderful day.
We're on the move. We're striking out to set the pace. We all can choose to make a difference. Our time is overdue. If we collect our dreams, take them on the move. We're rolling and we're walking, but we're not sitting still. There's a world of adventure to explore. We're signing and we're talking from New York to Brazil, from Canada on out to Singapore. We're on the move to make this world a better place. We're on the move, we're striking out to set the pace. We all can choose to make a difference. Our time is overdue. If we collect our dreams, take them on the move.